What's up, everyone? I'm so glad that you're joining me this week. I'm your host, Ryan McCarty. We talk about everything people, culture, engagement. So this week, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to Champion Your Culture. What's up? We're back. We got another week, and we got the George Rogers with us. He's back this week because last week,
he's back.
What happened? What happened? Oh, George is back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? What's up, man?
What's going on, my friend? Man, it's been a crazy week. A lot going on, obviously, and I was bummed about last week. You killed it. It was great.
Thank you.
Got a lot of positive feedback on that. I went back and actually watched. It's kind of cool. You and I both, we like to go back and especially engage in the conversation to those who are, chatting in the inbox and whatnot.
Yeah.
So being able to go back, and it was good. I was actually, when I went back, I actually act as if I was on there, and I'm like, Ryan, you're not listening to me. So maybe next time I should record my follow-up and post that. But man, I'm excited to be here. Thank everybody that's watching this live right now. If you're watching this live, make sure you like, love, share, subscribe, and we appreciate that support as we come to you, sponsored by the one and the only Culture of Good.
Culture of Good. Yes, we've got our next training October 5th through the 7th. That's coming up. So freaking excited about that. That certification really gives leaders the skills and the strategies to be able to build a culture of good that's tailored for their business. In a little bit, we'll hear from some of those that went through the last training, but I'm really excited today to welcome our guest today. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring her into the stream, and then I'll talk a little bit about her. So everybody welcome Megan Gilmore. Yeah. Welcome to Champion Your Culture, Megan. It's so good to have you on this week.
Yeah, excited.
Yeah, so Megan, for those that don't know, is the founder and executive director of Lark Song. I actually have been friends with Megan for many, many years. I don't know. I think we've lost count at this point.
Yeah. Once it's over a decade, you're like, it's a long time.
Yeah, once it's 10 years, and then it's like, we've been friends forever, and and we have worked together and served in ministry together, and traveled to overseas in different countries and launched schools together. I mean, we've got a little bit of a history in the last 10 years, but she also trained me, and I'm finishing my certification this year as a coach. But I want to hear more about you. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a little bit about what you do. And, anybody that logs in and looks up your name is going to see a lot of letters afterwards, and they mean a whole lot of cool stuff. So, tell us a little bit about Lark Song and Megan.
Yeah. So what's the alphabet soup mean, right?
Exactly.
So my educational background is in psychology and leadership studies, and then I have a master's degree in addictions counseling. I was a licensed clinical addictions counselor for a while, and I have national and international certifications in professional coaching. I've been professionally coaching people for about 18 years, which seems like an unreal number in my life. So, but it's true, promise.
Yeah.
And I started Lark Song as an LLC in 2013 out of a space in my house. I was coaching as a private practice, and that was going really well. And then I wanted to be able to connect others to coaching and the magic in it. Started Lark Song, became a nonprofit in 2015. So our vision here is to courageously co-create a more fulfilled and flourishing world. And we do that through well-being education, certified coach training, and what we call culture care, which, shared passion here. So
you said two words there that I picked up on, fulfilled and flourishing.
Yeah.
I mean, within Champion Your Culture, our whole idea is let's get people every week and different experts in different industries that help all of us think about our leadership in ways that maybe we haven't thought about it before. Because quite frankly, a lot of people aren't familiar with what even coaching is. You could have a leader that's in manufacturing that's never even thought about coaching,
Yeah.
or maybe they're in healthcare, they're just not been in that space. And having you in my wife Katara and I's life and our church and the work that we've done and just being friends, like I'm familiar with it, but a lot of people are not. George, this is a convo, so I need you in this, man. I know there's a lot of people online chatting, but like, are you familiar with coaching, George, outside of like,
Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities there. The challenge for me when I truly figured out the difference between leading and managing and then coaching, because they're three separate things, and there's a lot of characteristics, if you want to call them that. But when it comes to effective coaching strategies, man, I didn't realize the difference of it.
yeah,
Because I was always an all-in lead, and go that route. But there's a lot of relational things that you have that can be similarities between leading people and coaching people. But yeah, it took me a while to grasp the difference, and really know it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of felt the same way. I know, Megan, you mentioned about like, early on in my training, I learned, okay, therapy is way different than coaching because therapy is starting from a different point in a person's life, even, right?
Right.
Like therapy at the very core of it's looking kind of backward, forward, whereas coaching is like here and now, moving forward. Where are you? Where do you want to be? Tell us a little bit, just from your what you teach in terms of coaching, because I get I mentioned I get like a ask every day on LinkedIn, like, hey, do you need an executive coach? Do you need a success coach? Do you need a this coach, that coach? Like, there's tons of people out there calling themselves coach.
Right. It's a
And
really
that,
trendy term right now.
yeah. So tell us beyond the trend. Let's talk beyond the trend.
Yeah.
Beyond
Okay.
everybody and their mom saying they're a coach, what's a coach?
Yeah. So a coach is someone that partners. It's a professional relationship that partners with a client and essentially helps them get from where they are to where they want to go by prioritizing the client's agenda first. And
Okay.
we use a lot of different like skills and competencies in order to do that skillfully and well. But the main there's a couple big differences, but the main point of coaching is to work with a client to gain insight or like new personal learning
Mm,
and habit creation. So, like repeated practiced action that gets them closer to their goal. So, while
mm,
there are like overlaps with consulting and counseling and even mentoring or advising and leading, and the types of skills, like the types of listening skills or curiosity or intuition that you need to use to work with anybody in that kind of helping role, there are definitely distinctions for how you stay in your coaching lane and practice within your scope. And so, what's concerning, there's like a few
yeah,
things that are
yeah.
concerning about the trend, right? One is that a lot of people that are exceptionally skilled and have a ton of experience in an area, for example, executive coaching.
Right.
You're a retired CEO. You've worked with like tons of incredible people. You've got a lot of skill and knowledge and wisdom to share, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when you put yourself out there as an executive coach, you actually don't get to share that expertise
Yeah, right.
knowledge and wisdom if you are a competent coach. If you put yourself out there as a consultant, then you get
Yeah.
to do that, right?
Hmm.
But so, and then the trendiness of it too is that a lot of people don't understand yet what it means to work with someone who's competent. So there's a lot of coaches out there that are like reading one book or going to one weekend training and then calling themselves a certified coach, and they're actually doing more harm to themselves and the people that they're working with than good. And that's a really hard thing to say. That like
Yeah,
that's a hard
yeah,
thing
yeah,
to
yeah,
because
yeah.
I so believe in the
Yep.
power of coaching and like starting where you're at, and doing
Right.
what you can with what you have. But yeah.
What is that? Because the power of coaching, when I think about fulfillment and flourishing, that's a kind of cultures George, like others that are part of the culture of good team, we want to be able to help champion other organizations and their leaders so that those leaders can really build a culture that's flourishing, that people feel like their well-being is being prioritized. I just think that coaching, there's just such a unique power. And I love another term that you used is magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cult when I think about culture, I think maybe coaching is like is a leadership culture. Like that is how to build leadership culture within a business, is to help those managers, those that are managing teams, to be able to hone some of those skills and to be able to tap into some of the methodologies within coaching to be able to go beyond just simply managing people. I just think the flourishing part, like what's the magic of coaching, as I've been coached, I coach others as well in my process of being certified. There is something magical to it. When I sit down with someone, like, is it science? Is it magic? Is it scientific magic? What is it?
Yeah.
Do you
It's
believe
powerful.
in magic?
I hope you do.
You always find a coach who believes in you. Go ahead, Megan. That's important.
You
The
better
jingles.
keep going. Yeah, so I think it might be helpful to start with like some common definitions, so we're working
Yeah.
like everybody who's listening to knows where we're like starting from and what we're talking about. So basically, we're talking about like leaders as coaches here. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
one kind of niche of coaching within itself. And I would say that probably 40% of the people that go through coaching certification programs are doing it so that they can become better leaders. They're
Yeah.
not doing it so that they can start private practices. They're not doing it so that they can run coaching agencies. They're doing it so that they become better leaders because they see it as necessary for like their own fulfillment and flourishing as a leader. Like they feel stuck and challenged and dissatisfied with how they're leading, right? And what's happening in their teams. So what I like to say first is like leadership is just moving people from one place to another place, right? But good leadership is moving people from a current reality to a more desired reality in a manner that increases the fulfillment and flourishing of both the leader and the led. And when we talk about that kind of leadership, that's what leaders are longing for, and that's what their followers are longing for. But in order to do that, you have to stop treating your followers as less than you and start treating them as partners, like equal partners.
Say that again, please. That's so big.
Right? You have to start treating your followers as partners and stop treating them as less than you. And you might think to yourself, like, I don't treat my followers like they're less than me. But if you come into a situation where you're problem solving and you think nobody's listening to you and that you've got the solution that everybody needs to hear, and if they would just do bop, 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 everything would be okay, then you do think you're better. Like, sorry, but you think you're better. And so being able to like, that's a huge discipline and practice for a leader to not just one time say, oh yeah, I want to treat my followers like partners, but to actually do it, like to actually discipline yourself, because there are policies in place and there are like laws that are codified that put pressure on us to not lead that way. And so a coaching methodology is one that partners with someone to get them from a current reality to a more desired
reality
in a way that increases the flourishing of both of the people in the relationship. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about coaching, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about leadership. It's not just like doing whatever you need to do to get to the success or the solution that you want as a leader. Because frankly, most people are in leadership positions not because they're good leaders and not because they've studied leadership and not because they know anything about change theory or not because they know how to like steward a transformational process well. They're in positions of leadership because they were really good at the job they had before they became a leader.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so,
Yeah, keep on.
but
Keep
like
on.
that job
I
wasn't.
mean, George, you know that, right? Like that's
Oh, yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
I'm over here, dude. I'm over here like, man, I got somebody that needs to be listening to this right now. I'm not gonna-
Yeah.
because in all honesty, because ourselves, right, as people, it's good to hear that, even for myself, to remind, because when it comes to connecting with people, and you mentioned the emotional standpoint of it, and I'm a very emotional person. I think I got it from Ryan growing up. But it's
You're
important
welcome.
for people to understand, I won't say their role, but understand where they are as well as a leader, as a coach. Because we all, Ryan's, being coach, I'm being coached by Ryan. We all need somebody to be that lid lifter for us. And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of like, is it science? Is it magic? Is it like the more you learn about science, the more magical it is. And the more you learn about magic, you're like, that sounds like really good science.
I love that perspective. I really do, because that is very true. It is very true. It's like just because there's science doesn't mean that art goes away. But there's an art to coaching, and I think that's what I love about Lark Song and what you have curated, not just created, but you've curated, because I've talked to people I've tried to navigate the coaching space.
Yeah.
And I would say Lark Song, what's really unique about it from my perspective is that you're able to streamline what normally could take 4 years or more for someone to navigate it by themselves.
Yeah.
And you've been able, and some people can do it certainly sooner than 4 years, but you've been able to curate the process toward a certification, but fully immersive in 6 months, so that you have on sites where you're with your cohort. There's a few of those, but a lot of it's online, and you're meeting on Saturdays, and you're doing the practice of it. So you're not just reading a coaching book and saying, I'm starting a coaching practice, but I love the fact that you've simplified a process, even though it's not easy. It's simple. I know the step-by-step. Tell us really quick about Lark Song as an organization, because I know some of our audience, many of them maybe are looking at, okay, I'm going through a transition, or I do feel stuck, or, what about someone that either wants to get coached or learn more about coaching? Like how does that process look for them?
Yeah. So really practically, if you're interested in getting coached or being paired with a certified coach, you can go to our website, larksong.com, and just set up an exploration call with us, because it's really important that we pair you and your personal goals with a coach that's going to fit you well and that you're going to feel comfortable with. And then if you're interested you would do the same thing for a coaching certification as well. So just go to the website, set up an exploration call. You can see some of the details about the coach training program online too. We've got a cohort starting in Phoenix in the spring. We've got another cohort starting in Ohio next summer. We'll have a couple here in Indiana too. The dates will be up before the end of the year for those. But I think that just setting up a call so that we can get to know you better would be great. But then some people are like, I want to do my research before before you schmooze me on a call or whatever. A little suspicious. So, but I would just say, when you're looking for coach training or coach certification, there are 2 things to look for that make it reputable. Okay, so there are 2 regulating bodies within the field of coaching. One is a national regulating body for the United States, and that is the Center for Credentialing and Education. So we're registered through Center for Credentialing and Education. Basically, once students or participants go through our coach training program, they can immediately sit and be a board certified coach, which is the national coaching credential.
Gotcha.
other regulating body is the International Coach Federation, and that's one that's a little bit more well-known globally. Well, actually a lot more well-known globally because it's been around a lot longer.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the gold standard in coaching. So if you're looking at another coach training program outside of Larksong, you're going to want to make sure that it's ICF accredited. And within the global field of coaching, 2022 has been a huge year, huge year. So both the CCE and ICF have upped the ante in terms of everyone has had to reapply to be accredited and registered because there's new competencies and new skills. And so globally for the profession of coaching, that looks great moving forward. Right now for coach training organizations, it's a nightmare. Just a pain in the neck. But two other things that I'm personally passionate about that I think the industry of coaching is a little behind on. So we make sure to include in our coach training is information around trauma and neuroscience, as well as intersectionality. And so when you look at a lot of other coach training programs, they'll probably, if they're ICF accredited, they're going to do a good job training you in the coaching competencies. But you probably won't learn much about how to be trauma informed as a coach or what the science behind coaching is. And you probably won't learn much about the intersections of power and oppression and privilege in the coaching space and how to manage that well as a coach and skillfully. So.
Wow, that's awesome. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. We're going to hear from some of the last trainees in our last certification. When we get back, Megan, I'm going to have you take the lead for Champion Your Culture. I'm going to throw a little caveat, and I want you to start talking to George and I. Maybe help George out with some stuff. He needs a lot of healing in his life.
Okay. I would love that.
We'll just have some fun. I don't know where it's going to go. Are you okay with that, George? Oh, God, he's taking a drink.
I'm here to be healed.
I'm here to be healed.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
2 days has really opened my eyes, has made me more appreciative of the investment of my CEO in doing this, has made me appreciate the people that I got to meet, and has made me appreciate the people that I go back and get to share this with. It's allowing me to be vulnerable, and as an HR leader, that's not always something that's easy to do. Showing that it's okay to be human and it's okay to be good and to do good in the world is a really big thing. And so I'm really excited to take this back and share it with my team.
And so now I'm going back home. I have 6 steps for the next 90 days that I'll be able to put into practice to really help a company that's rolling out their cultural values, but I'll really be able to help them now to have some tools to evaluate that and to really put those into practice. And that's, I think, what I was missing. I didn't really have the tools to go back to say, hey, here's how we take these values and put them into practice. So I just think it gives you some hands-on tools and some steps that you can take, kind of not plug and play, but it's a way to be able to go back home and say, I have a plan.
Yeah, so the experience was great, and I learned a lot of different aspects that I can take back to the business. In my new role of culture and leadership development, and how to develop teams and get everybody together for a common cause. It's a great program, and I learned a lot and met many new friends and confidence that I can continue to lean on and get help and answers from in the future.
You know, in the past with the company, we thought we were on the right track of doing good. I mean, we did good in our community, but what we were missing was the culture of good. And what we've learned here, what I've learned here today, is that there's more than just a company handing out a check to somebody. I mean, that's grateful and people are appreciative of it, but you'll do a lot more by having everybody get involved in it. And you know, the old saying, many hands make light work, that's the kind of concept here. If we can get many hands that are involved in this thing, it will make it easier for everyone to participate on a more frequent basis and do more and build on what we have.
The Culture of Good training has given me the tools and resources resources to be able to revive our why and the reason why we go out and serve. So it's just given me a lot of opportunity to go back to my team and do more good.
Yeah, so that's coming up October 5th through the 7th. That's next Wednesday through Friday. We start at 1 o'clock on Wednesday. We end Friday at 1 o'clock. If you're in Indiana, I know flying here at this point is probably out of the question for many of you, but if you're around the Indy area, we'd love for you to join us. Megan, you're going to be at a future cohort,
Yeah.
not this one, but we're excited to have you. We only have 5 minutes left, and I want to leave our audience with just a practical way of maybe, sitting down with one of their team, or just kind of like, what does a coaching experience maybe look like? Something that can be a quick takeaway that they could practically use. I don't know if that's something you want to do with George or not, or if it's something you want to do. Is that something that we can do just in a few minutes, or do you need? Okay, cool. All right, let's do it.
Oh man. Okay. So, two questions that you're going to want to keep in your back pocket as a leader are, what's important about this? Okay, so just write that down on a Post-it note and put it on your computer or whatever. But what's important about this? You can start any conversation with any employee about that. Stop assuming that you know where your client, employee, follower is trying to get when they're having a conversation with you, and just ask them straight out what's important about this. The second thing that you might want to ask yourself so that you can listen more deeply and get more curious is, what do I not know yet? So instead of trying to like put yourself forth as the valuable expert in the conversation, take a step back and ask, what do I not know about this yet? And start asking questions and listening from that place. Okay. So
that's awesome.
George, can I coach you for 2 minutes?
Yes, ma'am. Let's do this.
Okay. So what's something that's really important to you?
My time.
Okay. And what's important about that?
Making sure that I am spending it wisely, and balancing my priorities with the time that I'm given with that.
So when you think about wisdom and balance, what's something that connects the two of those for you?
Wisdom and balance. It'll probably be what I'm putting in, what I'm receiving mentally, watching, listening to, and balancing, that thing. So whether that's TV, music, radio, podcasts that I may listen to, what am I putting internally in my mind, balancing the good and the bad of what those things can bring energy wise.
So for you, it's a lot of like what you're receiving and choosing to bring into yourself.
Right.
Energetically. Okay. So if you could say, like, if we use wisdom and balance as two values that are important to you, which one would you say rises to the top?
Probably balance.
Okay. And if you could, on a scale of 1 to 10, say how well you're honoring balance in your life right now, what number would you give it?
Ooh. Right now, I'll probably say I'll give it a 7.
Okay.
It's in a healthy place. Right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Okay. So if you imagined it at an 8 or a 9, what would be different?
Not picking up devices or things after a certain set time would be the
Nice.
bad
Okay.
habit. So leaving those things away from the reach.
Yeah. So what's one way you can do that this week?
Man, get rid of my phones from the counter again and put them in a different room.
Okay. Will you? Will you do it?
I will do it.
Okay.
I'll commit to it.
Do you need any support or accountability around that from me or Ryan?
That's always good. Yeah, Ryan texts me at 10 o'clock and asks me where my phone is. If I respond, it's not in a good place.
Perfect.
Exactly. How fast does George? Now he's going to pull out of his pocket and be like, okay, like 10 minutes later, he's going to answer me.
Yeah.
So anyway, the hope is that even through that limited conversation, you gained a little bit of insight You're starting to practice a new habit, forwarding action, and it's leading you toward a personal goal. So I can walk away as the coach, and I need to support and encourage you around it, but your problem is not my problem, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to do that. So that's
Right.
a little show and tell.
That is awesome. Megan, I appreciate you being here. I know everybody in the chat's been talking. This is great discussion.
Great.
And it's been great, Ryan. Great conversation.
Yeah, we're
I've
gonna
taken a
keep
lot of tips.
when we'll keep talking with everybody. If you're on chat, Megan's going to jump on the LinkedIn as well sometime today or the rest of the week. And we'll be talking to everyone. If you have questions or want to know more about Larksong and maybe becoming a coach or getting coached, make sure you go on larksong.com. Also, if you want to get trained with the Culture of Good, there's still time to do so. Reach out to us, jump on cultureofgood.com. Megan, thank you so much. I enjoyed. Love you.
Too.
All right. We'll see you guys next week on.
Appreciate you.
Go ahead, George. Help me.
You ready?
Champ. 1, 2, 3. Megan, you got to help us too. 1, 2, 3. We'll see you next week on Champion Your
Culture.
It's bad.